I have a couple ideas, but I want to know what you think first on what people can do in order to engage with something like LinkedIn, or for that matter, any website to keep their information secure, because there are ways to do it, even for Facebook. But I want to know your suggestions and I'll provide mine.
Yeah. So one of the big things with the extension, the current lawsuit, the newest lawsuit is the browser extension, right? And we already know that like private browsers already block that. So if you're using Brave, if you're using incognito mode, if you're using any one of your browsers in private browsing then I think from what I've read, it sounds like that stops this particular attack. And honestly, it stops most of those types of things, right? So the idea here is that it's throwing you into a sandbox, if you will, a sandbox environment, meaning that it can't really grab any other data on your browser. And honestly, that's kind of how Chrome was originally built too. It was kind of built to have that sandboxing tabs idea in there, which is why, and Microsoft boasts this all the time, Chrome is such a memory and resource hog because it's basically starting up a little mini virtual machine every time you're opening up a new tab. That's a little reductive, and I understand we might get some comments about that. But and so the idea here is to make sure that you're using those things. We've talked about this ad nauseum too, where it's like how do we increase our privacy online. Private DNS, that's another part. That's another piece of the puzzle we've talked about. Browser extensions that actually ad blocking capabilities, things like pie holes and all the ways that they do track us with like DNS records and cookies. Having those blockers and ad blockers on there helps. Now, make sure that when you find it, let's say you're going to use an ad blocker and you're like, oh, I found this great new ad blocker, making sure that that ad blocker is not just taking your data and then like, yeah, it's blocking the ad blockers for the other thing, or it's blocking the ads from the other sites, but not taking your data and then being like, but we're going to sell it because we're giving it to you for free. So we're going to sell your data instead. There, you can go even deeper to have the internet scrubbed with, companies, organizations that will
I think Cloaked
go
is
in.
one of them, for example.
What is it?
That'll,
Rope?
a Cloaked, I think, is one of them.
Cloaked. I used one, and I'll have to look it up while on our next break here. But there's one that I use that you basically give them
Delete
power
Me
of
is
attorney
another
to
one too.
submit um, uh, data removal on your behalf to remove your data from the best known data brokers. The problem is that if that data broker has already sold your information and you ask them to remove it, great, it's removed from that data broker now. But who they sell that information to, they might still have your data floating around somewhere. So it's this very ephemeral, very constantly moving dynamic data set on you that is floating around the internet. Frank, what did I miss there?
I was thinking about this earlier and I want to know your thoughts on this one. Don't download apps. Only use, get with me. Here's an idea. If you want to keep your information secure, one of the best ways they can steal it is by using the applications that are made by the companies that want your information, such as Facebook, Instagram, etc. What
Hmm.
they don't have control over, and the irony is clear for me here, is the whole website experience, the whole internet, right? So I'm telling you about a web browser while we're talking about how web browsers are compromised. But if you're on your phone, if you're using your phone and we are fans of not the stock browser. For example, I like to use Brave
Hmm.
because you can control all the scripts, all the cookies, all the stuff that's actually used to follow you online. And instead of actually using the app, you go to the website and you can do web apps and you can even make them little icons on your screen so it looks just like the app. And you use a browser like Brave, you have a lot more control over what can be read by that company and what can't be read by that company. And even to the ads that they show you. Now, is your experience going to be the same or as fluid as when you were using the application? No. But if this is something that really concerns you and you want to control your information a bit more, you have the capability to do that. What do you think? You think that works? I mean, then the VPN and all that stuff. I think yes. Nord is great.
And the
I
VPN,
love
yeah.
I love pie holes. Pie holes are awesome. You can set up things, but we're getting a bit more technical in those instances for everyday folks to try and secure themselves. It's
Yeah.
the best option I can think of for people who might just want to be a bit more secure.
I mean, it's a great suggestion. I've never really thought about it like that, and mostly because some of these apps are just fancy wrappers for the SaaS application, right? So like, in other words, the app that you download on your phone is basically just a fancy web browser that displays the web app already in your phone. Now, but to your point, Frank, that still gives them extra permissions. They can still say, "Let me see your location. Let me have access to your videos and your pictures and your photos. Let me have access to gyroscopic information that your phone is doing." Right.
The
So I know
gyroscopic, the barometer that is in your phone.
so like how much data do they need on us, right? But anyway, so yeah, I think that's a good point. I don't know. I'd have to look at some data on that and see. I'm sure someone's tested this to see like, hey, what's has anybody tested this to see if there's less information they can get off
And
of it?